What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a spoiler-filled discussion of the Apple TV Plus original series, Masters of the Air. This will follow Part 7, which is directed by Rees. So as we kind of barrel to the conclusion of Masters of the Air, the limited series, we're starting to see kind of post 100th, like post what are these individuals having to go through after they've either crash landed, become POWs, what is their overall goal to this eventual conclusion to this series, as well as this war. And this episode it's a continuation, but it is also, you're starting to see other characters come into the mix and other characters come to the forefront. It's an episode that I feel does a pretty decent job. It gives us some wins, it gives us some losses, and I think it's an episode that really kind of factors in how difficult, once again, this war truly was, but also kind of how they kind of strategize and how they push themselves into new directions to win a war that seemed unattainable in a lot of respects. And that's what this episode does in a lot of respects, because it starts out, of course, we'll get into the Buck and Bucky stuff later in just a few minutes, but the 100th is kind of down and out. They've lost so many people. They've just gone on another mission. Rosie, of course, is the head of the 100th at this point. And basically they lose what they call Black Monday, which I think it happened, they said, like in March or April of 1946, where they lost 15 planes and 150 pilots. It's pretty crazy to watch, because they're sitting here wondering, they're watching the planes come in and only one plane comes in and it's completely disheveled. It's smoking because of the bullet holes and the engines and stuff like that. People are getting out of the plane. They're like gruesomely disfigured. It's a very difficult thing to watch, because of course you see it in Crosby's face where you realize what's happening, and it really affects you in a lot of respects, because you realize that these individuals are trying to do something like a bomb a factory in Berlin, and because they don't really have a lot of backup, a lot of protection, these bombers are sitting ducks, and therefore they have to devise a new plan, which is what happens later in this episode. So therefore, like I said, all these people are dying, and it's becoming once again the bloody 100th, and it's just a very brutal situation. And then later on they get a new captain, because the other one went to London or something like that, and basically they've devised a plan to once again to send the planes out into the open and stuff like that, out to bomb this rail yard in of course Berlin. And it basically leads to them being backed up by the P-51 Mustangs, and it becomes a much more successful mission. The Mustangs can go off and, of course, destroy the single planes of the Luftwaffe and stuff like that, and they're able to successfully, the bombers, the 100th, are able to successfully, with minimal casualties, able to bomb this rail yard. And there is a uplifting moment with that, the fact that most of the pilots come back, most of the planes come back, most of the people come back, including Rosie and stuff like that. There's something truly special about a win in a war that seems unwinnable, and you really get like a sense of uplifting kind of patriotism in a lot of respects, and I really appreciate that. But it's not going to last long, because there's going to have to be other missions. Rosie has to go out and finish his 25 missions. Of course, they're celebrating, and one of the guys is kind of completely, I would say he's not patriotic, but he's just like, they keep sending us up there to die, and you can really see it in his face how angry he is. And it really shows you that no matter what the success rate is, there's always going to be that thing in the back of your mind that is going to constantly berate you in a lot of respects on what truly is going on and how many people they've lost. But it was nice to see a successful run and see something happen. And of course, Rosie finally gets his 25 missions, and he doesn't want to leave. I mean, it's understandable. He wants to be there with his group, and a lot of people in the military, especially during wartime, a lot of them wanted to go home, but some people didn't, because they were so patriotic and so committed to the cause. And you see that with Rosie when he talks to the commander, who basically says, "Don't you want to go back down to Florida? Don't you want to go visit, your family, go back and retire? And you're done. You've done what you needed to do." But you can tell that he just wants to continue, that he needs to continue. And they've upped the mission minimum to like 30 missions, and he goes back out. And basically, they basically say to him, these P-51 Mustangs are going to basically be the center front for this army, to take down the Luftwaffe, to take down this war, because we're getting close to the end of the war and stuff like that. And they're going to use the bombers as bait. Now, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm like, the B-51s are already disheveled as it is. They're not the B-51s. The bomber planes are disheveled as it is. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just thinking of, for somebody who knew a little bit about World War II, these types of shows really give you a nuts and bolts about how difficult these things are and stuff like that. And you just see that, when a military general or commander or whatever makes this decision, that it's not taken lightly. And, you see in Rosie's face when he's been told this, and he knows what he has to be involved with and what is going to happen. But it's a crazy thing to hear about and watch, because they had a successful mission, but because of these Mustangs, these planes, they basically have an advantage against the Luftwaffe. So therefore they're going to, they have to reconfigure everything, but they have to settle how they're going to do it. And it's brutal to think about, and it's sad, but it also shows that, what that guy was screaming earlier, that do they honestly care about their own pilots and their own people? And war is hell, man. War is hell. It's crazy to see, but, you also see, Crosby having to deal with, being the top dog when it comes to navigation and stuff like that. And you see him still with the Belle Powley character, and you can tell that she is probably not one for him because of how she acts towards him. It seems like a fling almost, but I don't know. I can't entirely tell. You can't really entirely tell until he gets to the end of the series what's going to happen. Well, you can imagine, like, maybe he has somebody back home, and this is just kind of a fling, because they're in war and stuff like that. But I found, his story's not really, there's not much to it. It's just him trying to chase after Belle Powley's character. And like when they do the flyby after the successful run, you see him in the tower and stuff like that. Rees does a really nice job of shooting action in this, because when they have to do the P-51 Mustangs and the Wassa airplanes going back, it's like a chaotic mess of planes back and forth. It's insane to watch. But I think she does a nice job of keeping everything in frame and justified about what's going on. And like I said, there's more talking of the pilots than there seems to be in other episodes. So I think Rees does a really nice job of like able to give us some information, but also contain that action together, which I thought was really nice. And the other half of this episode is basically the internment camp, the POW camp for the Bucky and Buck. Basically, we see them. They're basically held hostage in this camp. They're treated better than, of course, the Jewish people are, but they're given parcels, they're given letters. They're basically there as prisoners, and they're treated for the most part pretty decently until the Luftwaffe, the SS starts like looking and finding things, and some people were shot, some people were attacked by dogs, unnecessarily. But this, of course, is the German army, and they're not known for being like real pleasant people, to be fairly honest, as we're very much aware. I like the idea of that. Buck has the ability to develop a radio so they can listen to the different war things going on, what's going on over in London and England. They're able to hear if like successful missions are going on. They're able to hear like messages, and they're trying to escape. But of course, as we learn, the escape is not the easiest thing to do, and therefore, some people are executed. And unfortunately, it's very disturbing to hear. But they're like, well, if you guys keep doing what you're doing, this is from the German officer, if you guys keep doing what you're doing, you're going to end up in a place you don't want to be at and transported. And they start to become more and more kind of disheartened about this idea of escaping. And once again, this is kind of movies like The Great Escape were kind of inspired by these types of situations and stuff like that. But some of the people in the camp are like, I get fed better than I get fed in my own city and where I'm from. So maybe I should stay. And yeah, it's good stuff. It really is. It really is good stuff. It's dark. It's disturbing. We get, of course, Bucky and Buck back together. They get to have their brotherly, camaraderie. Like I said, they get letters, so they're able to read letters from people. They're waiting for Red Cross. It's interesting to see, because you think that this stuff would not be allowed, but because they're prisoners of war, there's a specific I want to say like resolution or something like that, specific order that POWs are treated somewhat respectably, even though the SS did go a little bit far and beyond. But I really enjoyed like the listening, like the making of the the headphones and stuff like that. The idea that SS were able to they do their checking of the camps and stuff like that, and they're able to find some things that cause people to be killed and stuff like that. It's a really interesting kind of dichotomy of what it is like to be a POW. And this isn't like the Deer Hunter. This is way more different, where unfortunately POWs are killed, but most of them are at least kept in housing and fed pretty decently, and so on and so forth. So, but other than that, that's pretty much the episode. Like I said, it's really told in two parts. Like I said, the battle of the railway and like the 100th, and kind of bringing in new people, the internment camp with the POWs with Buck and Bucky, and kind of that moving forward and how that plays out, and a little bit with, of course, Crosby and the woman that he is following around. So it's a well produced, well done episode. I think it does give us some character development. It gives us some other people that we learn a little bit about. Once again, it's not going to be a series where we're going to get Band of Brothers style, character development, but that's fine because I'm kind of used to it by now. It's, 2 episodes away from the end of the series. We're going to get the Tuskegee Airmen in the next episode, which is cool, which has, Shuti Igawa in it, stuff like that. So we'll look forward to that. But if I were to conclude with the score, we'll give it, 8.75 out of 10. I mean, I don't know. Scores are really weird to me, but like I said, it's fun, it's entertaining. It's not the greatest episode in the world, so 8.75 is still a pretty good score out of 10. So with that said, that is my take on part 7 of Masters of the Air, now playing on Apple TV Plus. As I always say, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. What do you think of this episode? What do you think of the 2 parts? What do you think about the idea of the inclusion of course, the Tuskegee Airmen next week? What are you looking forward to with this episode to conclude? What do you think of the episode overall? So with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. As always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.